The star!
It smells lovely, doesn't it?
Gary Lewis is head teacher of King's Langley School, a mixed comprehensive in Hertfordshire. It's the last day of the Christmas holidays for all the family. There's been time to restore some work-life balance.
It's been a fabulous Christmas, as always is, and it's a time of my family, and I really do appreciate that time. It's pretty precious.
Gary has been head teacher at King's Langley for nearly 5 years.
When I started teaching back in 1980, I always wanted to be a head teacher. It's been one of my strengths and weaknesses, a sort of a blind confidence in my own abilities.
His family is keenly aware of the pressure of his leadership role.
The ultimate responsibility is always on his shoulder, at least that's how he perceives it, but the reality is it is on his shoulder. And I think people do not always realise how many different sides of the job there are and how many people make demands on him.
I think he's always tired, he's always stressed out, there's always something going on.
There's always that time when Ofsted or something comes along, and that's the rocky time when possibly not to get asked for favours then.
Yeah.
Certainly it's scary to think that the head teacher has so much responsibility for the quality of learning and the standards that actually are achieved in any particular school. Here you go, Year 11, let's get sat down quickly, please.
The term ahead will be challenging. There's an Ofsted inspection anticipated and the deadline for a bid for specialist arts status. And that's on top of the usual demands on a head teacher.
Whether it be anything from being in an employment tribunal to dealing with a completely irate and angry parent, or to worrying about health and safety issues of youngsters. I've had to deal with all of it, and I can't see that this term would be any different from any other term. It would be very unusual if it was. I wish you all and your families a really happy, peaceful and I hope extraordinarily successful year. Make sure that you make the most of the opportunities given to you and make sure you enjoy yourselves.
The first of many meetings at the beginning of the new term is with his Chair of Governors, Francis Stickley.
Morning, Francis. How are you this morning? All right.
How are you? All right?
Yeah, good. Very good. Thank you. Nice to see you again. Did you have a good Christmas break?
Yes, indeed. Thank you.
Good. Well done.
Top of the agenda is the need to replace key staff who are leaving.
And we've got adverts out for second and maths crucial position, Head of Humanities.
Yes.
On the department.
Recruiting excellent staff is essential to the school's ongoing improvement. It's one of many tasks that Gary closely manages himself.
Gary is a leader, but it's a classic weakness of strong leaders and people that have got a lot of drive, that they will tend to take on too much and not actually delegate more. Gary's a great hands-on head, and so he'll be out there every break time and every lunch time, picking up litter, talking to the children, and that's great, but he has to find the time for the strategic elements as well.
Monsieur Spencer, you and your friends, come here. Right, one piece of litter each, guys. I don't know why all this rubbish is here. One piece each, please. One bite, yeah, please. And you, I'm not sexist. Have they had the fish?
How nice this fish looks.
It looks good, actually, isn't it? Yeah. There's nothing of her, and she eats a huge meal every day, don't you? Have you got hollow boots or something?
Because Gary's out and about with the students at lunchtime, he only manages a snatched working lunch.
I try to have a few minutes to have my sandwiches, but frankly, time is so precious. I take the opportunity just to read. There's so much that comes across my desk that I don't have the chance to read. I get pretty good at speed reading, but this is actually coming. I'm going on a strategic leadership conference for ICT, and we have to do some pre-activity before the event. So the fact that I've now read that, I realise I have to do that pre-activity.
A fortnight into term, and it's Gary's third evening meeting of the week.
I've managed to dash home this evening, which doesn't always happen, but only just time to catch up with what the youngsters have been doing during the day and basically fly out the door again.
The meeting with governors is about the specialist bid, which is behind schedule and demanding more and more of Gary's time.
And this is the biggest bane of my life. I have aged 5 years over this and will continue to age 5 years per week until we get on.
You can't blame this just because you can't play football.
I'll be working every day on the bid, and mainly the weekends, of course. That's the only time I get for what one might call a bit of a long run at any written work, or if I need to do any thinking or reading.
As the busy term goes on, he cancels an important meeting in Cambridge when gale force winds are forecast.
The winds were so severe yesterday that two of the very, very large windows popped out, and it could have been extremely dangerous. They've fallen from a considerable height, and it's lucky that we didn't have any youngsters nearby. And we lost another window in the main teaching block, a smaller window, but again could have been very dangerous.
And the ever-present mountain of paperwork sometimes throws up unwelcome surprises.
I've received guidelines from the county, a 52-page document on health and safety in swimming pools. They stipulated that there can't be groups bigger than 12 for one teacher. Now, that kind of puts all of our swimming curriculum under pressure. So at the moment there are only guidelines, so I've chosen to ignore it. When I say ignore it, we've taken note of it, chosen to continue with our lessons. I've not suspended them, but it makes me very vulnerable.
Unlike many head teachers, Gary also carries a teaching load. His subject is physics, and he teaches an A-level group 2 periods a week.
Standard atom, what's in the middle? Protons and neutrons. Job, iona of the protons.
It's really surprising how well planned his lessons are as a head teacher as well.
In atomic physics, if Newton's laws applied, and they do pretty well everywhere else, then those electrons will be able to go wherever they want, depending on their energy, as of course would be the case with satellites orbiting the Earth.
I don't think there's been a day that he hasn't been 10 minutes late either. He always seems very busy.
Yeah. He's got other responsibilities other than that.
But then he makes the rest of the lesson, like, make up for that 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Gary only just manages to squeeze in his weekly game of football.
You all right, darling? We're going to go and play football now. You okay?
Yeah.
You give me a kiss before you go to bed. You're going to go to bed at a good time tonight. You're going to go to bed at a good time tonight.
I will.
Yeah, Gary. Time, Gary. I'm coming now.
It's an hour, kicking around, running around with some guys that I get on really well with. And it's a great stress reliever.
In, go back. Steady. Gary, how could you do that?
Back at school, Gary and his assistant heads are dealing with an irate parent. One of Gary's New Year predictions come true.
We've just finished, unfortunately, the most, well, certainly in my career, the most difficult meeting I've ever had with a parent. A parent who's in essence complaining about the school's management of an alleged systematic bullying situation. I reflect, and I mean, I was so determined beforehand to remain calm because I knew there was an impasse before we even started. So I've informed the governors because it will certainly go to a formal complaint, and I suspect it'll go further. Anyway, not a good end to the day, but let's go home. It's 20 to 6. Go home to your families.
Gary is under pressure. Yeah, he's under immense pressure. There are demands on him that causing pressure from a variety of directions in which he's got to face at once.
Sometimes it'll be a good week, and then at other times there'll be a week of difficult children and difficult parents and difficult, frustrating situations, and that can just leave you totally drained and demoralised.
Researching an assembly for Year 11 students facing GCSE exams proves to be an unexpected wake-up call.
Stress. We all have responsibility to recognise it and to deal with it. I've always been fairly dismissive of the whole concept of stress, you know, lots of get on with it and just put up with it sort of stuff, because that's how I've always felt that I've dealt with it. Frankly and bluntly, I was a bit macho about it. Stress? No, that doesn't happen to me. Real men don't get stressed. That's rubbish. Utter rubbish. We all do. I had a chat with my wife, and I don't have enough chats with my wife this day and age, and she said, well, of course you're stressed. And I was quite offended by that. I said, what do you mean stressed? She said, well, look, there you are. You're snapping. She said, you snap at me, you snap at the youngsters. So that's a bit unfair, but of course, you only ever get upset when somebody's telling you the truth. And it is probably, I do snap a bit. And then I started to reflect. I think, well, yes, I have these symptoms. I have eczema on my ankles. I get an itchy scalp. All of these are clear signs of stress. I'm now an expert. And I started to get worried. I'm ringing Fernville Surgery now, all right? OK, love, bye-bye. It's my wife making sure I've rung the surgery. I best do so. I never go to the doctors. I've been teaching for 27 years and I've never had any time off sick, so I like to think I'm fairly resilient. But I have had palpitations myself, not for some months, but I have had them. Hopefully they are nothing and they're purely stress related, but my wife felt that it was sensible to go and have a bit of an MOT. Today I'm able to ring up for the results, and I can't pretend I'm not nervous about it really. 1st degree block. I have no idea what that means. Right. Right. Well, not too good, I don't think, really. The comment from the nurse was, it says equivocal 1st degree block. So I'm not quite sure what that means, but I don't like the sound of it. Anyway, I've made an appointment to go and see the doctor next week. You're right. Tomorrow. No top tomorrow, no hooded top tomorrow, okay?
As Gary waits to see the doctor again, it's beginning to dawn on him that he can't do everything.
It was a watershed moment. I thought about the things that were causing me stress, mostly work, in fact almost entirely work, certain major projects that we have got on, one of which of course is applying for specialist status here at King's Langley School, all of which were reducing my capacity to have any sort of control over my own life. And that is one of the clearest signs of stress.
Accepting that something has to give, he meets with the governors to tell them he's postponing submission of the specialist bid.
You know that we've fallen behind. I mean, frankly, it was almost inevitable. I regret having made promises that, frankly, I was never going to be able to keep.
He's going to delegate responsibility for the bid to his deputy, Fiona Winfield, and another colleague.
I'm pretty confident now that I've brought on a team of 2 that are going to lead the detailed bid writing with exceptional experience.
Fiona's also taking over other tasks from Gary, and Gary's cutting down the time he spends out and about at break times.
That is a conscious decision on my part. It was also a decision that was forced on me by the Chair of Governors, nicely, when she said you really must start to manage your work-life balance a little bit better.
It all begins to make a difference.
I feel great, yes. I mean, without a doubt, it's probably even been busier the last 2 weeks than it was before that. But there's absolutely no doubting in my mind that, you know, this feeling of, well, the world will continue turning and, you know, there's some things I just can't do and they won't be done as well as I want, and a mistake we made there, and don't worry about it too much, take 3 deep breaths and it'll go away, is actually frankly working.
And what's more, the doctor has given him the all clear.
In actual fact, the 1st degree block that I thought looked extremely scary wasn't, and in fact it's not even sure I've got that at all. So no treatment's necessary. She was very complimentary, the female doctor. She said I had a very low resting heart rate, which must mean I'm quite fit, so I took that as a compliment.
Where are the weeds, Natalie?
Finally, it's the Easter holidays. All the family has noticed the change in Gary.
For the first time, it was really acknowledging the fact that he needed to rely on other people more and not pretend that everything was fine, and that was good. And I think that has helped enormously, really.
He's coped better with it.
Yeah.
I think he laughs a lot more.
Yeah. I think what happens at work stayed at work more, and when he comes home he relaxes more, and that's it.
We need quite a bit, I would have thought. I've been at King's Langley now for exactly 5 years, even though it's created some of the most significant ups and downs in my life. The ups far outweigh the downs, that's without a shadow of a doubt.